Fable 3 gets a hard time for the light RPG elements, and it's a fair statement. The game isn't deep at all, combat ends up button mashing, environments are surrounded by invisible walls, the list goes on. However, I still love Fable 3, playing the game after Fallout 3 made it even more enjoyable. It's simplistic but stylish, combat is easy but fun and empowering, co-op works, graphics impress, moral choices are black or white, but a ton of fun, and the game is easily worth the low prices Amazon recommends. Fable has never been a deep RPG compared to the others, and Fable 3 embraces this, becoming an action game with RPG elements. Don't go in expecting something even a tenth as deep as Oblivion, Gothic or whatever, and you'll have tons of laughs. I love this game. I played it a while back before Fable 2, and although I think Fable 2 is better, this one is definitely brilliant in itself. Every choice you make has consequences for the future. You can decide to be good or you can be bad. Either way, it is an interesting journey which I would highly recommend. Although this disc was initially meant for the Xbox 360, it is backwards compatibility now, which means it can be played on the Xbox One, which I used it on with no issues at all. Fast delivery and brand new. It never played the Fable series before, and while I know fans of the series will probably direct me to try Fable 2, and I intend to, Fable 3 was where I started. It's an entertaining action RPG with a somewhat repetitive combat system where you can use a mixture of melee weapon, gun and magic spells to defeat your enemies. Unfortunately, the combat can get stale after a while, as it's generally very easy, with area blasts for magic doing most of the work for you, while guns don't fit quite as seamlessly into the flow as they should, and melee is often better avoided as the ability to block and counter isn't really. Where the game shines most is the ability to affect the world around, befriending or even marrying NPCs and starting families, buying over property across the world to rent or live in. Unfortunately, the property ownership is a bit clunky, as Fable 3 introduces a frustrating deterioration of rented houses, which means you have to constantly monitor them for repairs, which is a wholly useless addition and a real chore thanks to the clumsy interface for reaching your portfolio. If you want to earn money, then property is a must, but it is easiest to simply buy over shops and stalls, as these have no upkeep costs and simply make money, while you can stick to simply buying property for yourself and your family, or families. In the later game, your ability to make world-changing decisions is also of particular note. Overall, it's a relatively fun RPG romp with lots of side quests and a decent main quest line, as well as a number of amusing characters with an impressive voice cast. While it should be a game with strong replay value, there isn't much variety to how you play, which means that aside from the later game choices and the NPCs you choose to belch at rather than befriend, there isn't as much variety as there could compared to titles like Skyrim or Mass Effect. Narrated by John Cleese, play with spells, a sword, a musket, or all of the above. An epic story with a funny servant and one of the better co-op experiences for the Xbox 360 overall. I believed initially that I had received the wrong code, but after a swift response from the seller, I was directed to an additional strip of cardboard that had the code on it that I had missed still in the envelope. The code works fine and it's a great game. No problems and great customer service. Love it. Great game that still holds up after all these years. Game I love to play again and again. For an old game, it arrived in very good condition. It was still completely sealed in the original packaging. Bah. Humbug. Typical video game devil. Not as good as Fable 2, but passable. A fine way to waste a couple of days. Works as intended. Not much else to say, is there? You put the code in, you play the game. Word. Click link in description for more reviews.